everyone, my name is Willa, and today I will be giving you guys a Thunkable tutorial in a sign-in demo. We'll get into a little bit more later, but this video is basically going to cover what this demo app does, the components needed to create this app, so like the input labels, the Firebase, all that stuff, the code itself, so I'll go through that, we'll talk about it, we'll explain it, and then some of the applications you could use this app for. So first of all, let's talk about this app. This app is a sign-in demo app, so if you have anything where you want users to make an account, this is going to be the way that you're going to do that. You're going to have them like enter various pieces of information that you want them to give to you guys in order to make an account, and therefore you're going to make an account unique to that user. In this case, we have an email and a password, but you could change that as like a username, or you could have like a name, age, all that kind of stuff. You can basically change it to be whatever you want. So let's talk about the components, because it's not just Thunkable that you're going to need to create this app. So if we go over here, we can see all of our different components that we're going to need that are integrated within the screen to create this app. So I've named them for the sake of simplicity here. So first we have an email input label and a password input label. These are just going to be these two boxes right here. These are just standard text inputs. Your second is going to be your sign up button or your sign in button. So sign up and sign in, two different buttons, have a little bit of a different aesthetic format. One looks more like a button, one looks more like a hyperlink, but they're both buttons that you can just change to have different meanings. Then I have a label, which helps to categorize my information, a column, again, which helps to sort the information on the screen in the back end. Result label, again, helps to sort information. And a screen too, which would be applicable if you kept this app going to have it apply to like different screens within the app. But in this case, we don't have that. The most important thing that you want to consider is your invisible components. So these are components that you don't see on the screen, but are required to make your app function properly. So local storage 1 is a local storage attribute built into Thunkable that allows you to store things on the device itself. This is good to have because it allows you to just like have local storage within the device itself, which is really helpful when you're building apps and like testing them locally. But if you want to have many different users and you want to make it like a large scale project, what I recommend doing is having a Firebase. So a Firebase is an external free database that you can make an account and set up and link directly to Thunkable. There's a nice little plugin that you can use when you're looking for components. You search Firebase and it comes up over here, and you name your Firebase something accordingly so that all of the information that's being put into these will be sorted into, I don't want to say like a spreadsheet, but kind of like a spreadsheet for you within the external Firebase. So that's something to consider. When making this app, you want to have different places to store the information. So local storage you absolutely need, but if you're trying to make this scale when you have like lots of people having accounts, I would recommend very much highly having a Firebase. There's different local databases you can use, but I recommend Firebase because you can add it really easily into the app itself. So those are your components that you're going to require to build this app. If you use these components, you're going to get something like this with two text inputs, a sign up button, and a user sign in button. But you can change this to have like multiple screens of input information, and you can have it to have different routes for signups. But this is the most basic sense, and you can apply this to scale it to your needs. If we look at the code, we're going to go through the code itself. There's basically 3 large chunks of code, so we'll go through each of them and just kind of talk about what they do. So remember we have let's go through this block first. Hopefully that will be the easiest. So when sign up button clicks, so when we click our sign up button, it will call local storage 1 and it will save the email as the value email input label text. So basically what this does is it takes the email that we put in and it says, okay, this is the email input label and it's a text input. So it saves that to the local storage 1. Then when the saving is done, so once the email is saved to local storage 1, it will save the password just like it saved the email. So email and password are saved. That's what these do. Then we have call sign in 1 sign up. So email, input, text, password, input, label, text with output. So basically, remember what our Firebase was called? Our Firebase is called sign in 1. So basically what these blocks of code do These first two, local storage, this one is sign in 1. So these two save it locally to the device. Then once it's saved locally to the device, it also saves it to the Firebase, which is the external database, which is helpful because you have two different sources of saved data then. And it saves the email input label and the password input label, those text inputs, saves them to the Firebase as a new account, a new input. Then we have like our resulting factors. So like if all of those happen successfully, if we registered a new account, we set a result label text and we have something that says like, oh, an email was just sent to you to verify your account. Go verify your account at this email. Right? So if there was no error in processing all of those saves of the information, then we say, oh, your account's great, just go verify it in your email, because we want to make sure there's a verification process to keep our users secure. Else, that means something didn't go right, it didn't save without error, it will say error, and then the user knows that we have to like fix the error. So that's the first set of block. Like the first block just kind of saves the code to the account and then says like, oh, well, we made an account for you now. Go check your account in your email and verify it. Our second block of code, sorry, it goes white when I'm trying to scroll. This one, it's a pretty short one. It just goes to about here. I just want to check to make sure. I think, yeah, it does. So we're going to go when screen 1. So that's our starting screen, the screen that we saw that has the two, like the sign in, like username, password, all that stuff. So when screen 1 starts, so when we fire up the app, we're going to call local storage 1, get email, get password, and put the values in for this. So what that means is once we've established an account, every single time now that we log into the account, it's going to say, oh, well, we already have an account for this person because local storage, like the phone already knows that there's an account for this. So every single time you fire up the app after making an account, we're just going to prompt it so it's your account already signed in for you. So you don't have to sign in every single time. So that's what this chunk of code does. We have the password and the email, and we put our values in for the email input label and the password input label, and therefore it all locally like assigns the values to things, so we don't have to keep signing in every time. So this is not a mandatory block of code, but it really helps with convenience and ease of use for people when they're trying to use your app. So I highly recommend doing something like this in your project. Okay, our last block of code is over here. So I'm going to scroll up so we can take a look at that together. When the sign in button is clicked, local storage 1 is going to save the email and input label text. Then that's done. Local storage 1 save password input label text, saves it again. So it saves it again, and we're going to go down because that's basically the same thing as we saw over there. What's different about this section of code is that when the save is done, it calls the database. So it calls our external database and it saves thing, and it checks now like, is the email verified? So we have now a variable called like is email verified. So remember how we have like this block over here, we can kind of see it where it like, oh, like an email was just sent, like please verify your account. So now this block of code over here checks to see if your email is verified. So we have like a legitimate account. So if your email is verified, then you go to like the next screen. So like screen 2, which could be like the home page of your app. If it's not, then you want to set it to error, like there's an internal error, you set it to error, but else you would say like, please verify your email. So this is a good security step that I would recommend adding because it makes people have to verify their email, which therefore means you have like verified users, you know what I'm saying? You don't have just random people signing up. So this is something that I highly recommend. So this block of code basically checks if the email is verified or not, and then if it's verified, you can go to the home screen, and if it's not verified, you have to like verify your email, and the app tells you to please verify your email. So I'm going to go through one more time, just like a general run through, just so we can have a reminder of things. Oops, I moved that by accident. Okay, so this block of code, block 1, because if there's questions, I want to be able to identify the different blocks. block 1 is basically talking about how we save the local information, so either to the phone itself or to the Airbase, and then once it's saved to the Firebase, then it will say, oh, like it will send a verification email and then say like, oh, go check because we want to make sure your account's verified. Then the second block of code, it gets your values and stuff like that, and it just sets them to like actual values within local storage 1. So it, prompts your account within the screen when you sign on for the second time so that you don't have to keep signing in every single time. And then block 3 of code is verifying that once your email is verified, it like make sure that you verified it so that you can like have a usable, workable account. And if you didn't verify your email, it tells you to verify your email again. So those are our 3 blocks of code that you're going to need to make this app. This is what your app is basically going to look like, and you have 2 text inputs, a sign in, and already user sign up. Some applications I would recommend for this app would be anything that you want an account for. So anything that you were like, oh, I want my users to have their own specific account where they can like save their own information. This would be a really good use for that because it's an account setup itself. Another thing that you could use this for is if you just want to collect information from people anyway, say that there's like user surveys you want to implement throughout your app, you can tweak this to just have like text inputs, and instead of having something like verifies your email, like verifies that you have an account, you can just say, oh, we're going to save all of our information from the text inputs into the Firebase, so then we have information from people from user surveys. So that's another way you can implement this. So basically, in any situation that you're looking to take information from an app user, that's basically where you're going to want to use a text input saved to an external source like this. But the most widely used input that I would see is the accounts in itself. So if there's any questions, please let me know. I'll be here Saturday to answer them. But yeah, this is our sign-in demo for Thunkable, and hopefully you find that helpful.